Mornings have a rhythm. You can hear it, feel it. And at Quaker, we fuel it. With 100% whole grain oats and a good source of fiber in every bowl, helping you turn that rhythm into your soundtrack for a great day. Fuel to start whatever's next. Quaker, official sponsor of FIFA World Cup 26.
The new LinkedIn Hiring Pro can't undo your last hire, the no-show. Who set you back because they didn't show up on day one, or day two, or ever again. And now your product launch is delayed because you're talking to alien abduction podcasters to track them down. But LinkedIn Hiring Pro can help make sure your next hire sticks. In fact, businesses who use LinkedIn are 24% less likely to reopen a role in the next 12 months. Hire right the first time with LinkedIn Hiring Pro. Post a free job today at linkedin.com/quality.
This episode is brought to you by Google Health. Stop chasing someone else's definition of health. What matters is what's healthy for you. Google Health offers a new kind of coach built with Gemini for effortless tracking, sleep insights, and holistic coaching tailored to you. Visit googlestore.com to learn more and start a new relationship with your health. Requires Google account, Google Health app, internet, and Google Health Premium subscription. Features subject to change. Availability and results vary. Not intended for medical purposes. Works independently of Gemini apps. Check responses for accuracy.
Welcome to the Peak Performance Podcast. I'm Brad Young, and this show exists for one reason: to go deeper than the surface level fitness content flooding your feed. Each episode is a focused, research-backed, experience-tested conversation about what it actually takes to perform at your highest level across training, recovery, mindset, and the science shaping how we understand the human body. No fluff, no shortcuts, just the real work and the thinking behind it. The AI-enhanced athlete. How artificial intelligence is reshaping training, recovery, and performance in 2026. From adaptive coaching models to biometric prediction tools. A breakdown of what's hype, what's real, and how I test these tools in my own training. The machine in the gym. I want to start by being honest with you about something. 10 years ago, if you had told me I'd be using an AI system to adjust my weekly training load in real time based on my overnight heart rate variability, my subjective mood score, and my grip strength at 6 in the morning, I would have told you that sounds like something out of a science fiction film. And yet here we are. That is exactly what my Mondays look like now, and it has fundamentally changed the way I think about intelligent training design. And this episode is not a promotional piece for any company or tool. I have no sponsors influencing this conversation. What I want to give you is an honest, field-tested breakdown of what artificial intelligence is actually doing inside elite performance environments right now, what works, what doesn't, what's genuinely transformative, and what is dressed up in technical language to sell you a subscription. I've spent the better part of 18 months diving into this space, and I have some strong opinions I want to share with you today. The conversation around AI and athletics has exploded. Every week there's a new wearable, a new platform, a new promise. But underneath all of that noise, there are a handful of genuinely powerful shifts happening. Shifts in how we individualize training, how we monitor recovery, and how we predict injury and fatigue before they derail a season. That's where I want to focus, because for high performers, the edge is rarely in doing more. It's in doing the right things at the right time with the right information. AI, when used correctly, is becoming an extraordinary tool for exactly that. What AI actually means in a training context. Let's get the definition right, because I think a lot of confusion in this space starts with people using the term AI loosely to mean anything that has an algorithm behind it. When your GPS watch calculates your pace, that is not artificial intelligence. When your calorie tracking app adds up your macros, that is not artificial intelligence either. What I'm talking about is machine learning, systems that are trained on large data sets and can make predictions, identify patterns, and adapt recommendations dynamically based on new input over time. The distinction matters because it changes what the technology is actually capable of. A static algorithm gives you the same answer every time you give it the same input. A machine learning model gets smarter. It learns from your data specifically, your sleep patterns, your training responses, your recovery windows, and it begins to understand your physiology in a way that no generic program ever could. That is the promise. And for many of us who have been training long enough to know that everybody's different, the idea of truly individualized guidance is genuinely exciting. In 2026, we're seeing this play out across three main categories inside the athletic world. First, adaptive training platforms that modify your program in real time based on how you're actually responding. Second, biometric prediction tools that use your physiological data to forecast fatigue, injury risk, and performance readiness. And third, recovery intelligence systems that pull from sleep data, HRV, movement patterns, and subjective reports to give you actionable protocols. I've been inside all three of these categories. Let me walk you through what I've found. Adaptive coaching models. What real individualization looks like. The most significant shift I personally experienced in AI-assisted training is the move away from fixed periodization into what I now call responsive periodization. Traditional periodization, linear, undulating block, is built on averages. It assumes that if you follow the right progression over the right number of weeks, your body will adapt predictably. But training doesn't happen in a vacuum. Life stress, sleep quality, nutrition, travel, illness, these all modulate your ability to absorb and adapt to training load. Fixed programs ignore all of that.
And we're live on match day as Doug reaches for a buffalo wing. He's got it! Oh, and he's gone for a can of Pepsi too! What a finish! There's no doubt about it. It just tastes better. Match days deserve Pepsi.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
Responsive systems don't. The platform I've been using most extensively integrates data from my wearable, HRV, resting heart rate, sleep stages, and respiratory rate, with my subjective daily readiness score, which I input each morning in about 45 seconds. The system then cross-references those inputs against my historical training data and outputs a recommended session structure for that day. Not a rigid prescription, but a recommendation with a range. If my readiness is high, it pushes me toward the harder end of that range. If my data indicates I'm in a recovery deficit, it scales back volume or intensity automatically. What surprised me most was how quickly the system learned my individual response patterns. Within about 6 weeks of consistent data input, it was predicting my performance readiness with an accuracy that felt almost unsettling. It knew, based on 2 consecutive nights of disrupted sleep and a higher than normal resting heart rate, that I was heading into a suppressed performance window before I subjectively felt it. That early warning gave me the ability to adjust before digging myself into a hole I'd have to climb out of. That is genuinely powerful for any serious athlete or performer. Biometric prediction tools reading the body before it breaks. Injury prevention has always been one of the holy grails of athletic training. We've known for decades that the best training program in the world is worthless if the athlete is sitting on the sideline. What we haven't had until very recently is the ability to predict injury risk with enough accuracy and enough lead time to actually do something about it. AI-powered biometric analysis is changing that equation in ways that were genuinely not possible 5 years ago. The tools I've been testing use a combination of accelerometer data, force plate analysis, and continuous HRV monitoring to identify asymmetries and deviation patterns that precede tissue overload. What's remarkable is that these systems don't just flag current problems, they identify trends. If your left hamstring is generating consistently lower eccentric force compared to your right over a 3-week period and that gap is widening, the system flags it as an escalating risk before you ever feel a twinge. That is the difference between proactive management and reactive treatment. I tested one of these systems during a period of high-intensity block training earlier this year. About 10 days in, the The system flagged an emerging asymmetry in my hip extension mechanics, something I would never have caught on my own because subjectively I felt fine. I brought it to my physiotherapist. We did an assessment and found a mild restriction in my left hip flexor that was beginning to alter my movement pattern under fatigue. We addressed it. I never broke down. I completed the block at full intensity. In the old model, I likely would have pushed through. The asymmetry would have compounded, and I'd have ended up managing a strain, or worse, mid-block. That single intervention, powered by AI analysis, saved me weeks of setback. Recovery intelligence when the machine knows you're not ready. Recovery intelligence is arguably where AI is having its most immediate and practical impact on everyday high performers. Not just elite professional athletes, because recovery is where most people leak performance. They train hard, they sleep inconsistently, they manage stress poorly, and they wonder why their progress has plateaued or why they feel perpetually flat. The data almost always tells a clear story. The problem is most people don't have access to that data in a form they can actually use. The recovery systems I've evaluated operate by integrating multiple data streams simultaneously. Sleep architecture, specifically how much time you spend in deep and REM sleep, is weighted heavily because those are the stages where the majority of physiological restoration and hormonal resetting occur. HRV is tracked as a proxy for autonomic nervous system recovery. And in some of the more advanced systems, continuous glucose monitoring data is incorporated to understand how recovery, nutrition, and circadian eating patterns are influencing the physiological response to training stress. What the AI does with all of that data that a human coach cannot do manually is identify interaction effects. It's not just that your HRV is low today. It's that your HRV has been trending down for 4 days. Your deep sleep has been below 90 minutes for 3 nights. And your evening glucose pattern suggests your cortisol is staying elevated too late into the night. And together, those 3 things are creating a recovery debt that is compounding daily. That systemic view of recovery.
This is going to be an extremely busy month. I have to watch 104 soccer games, follow the pregame, the postgame, yell useless opinions at the TV. It's a lot. So I knew that when it comes to screening for colon cancer, the choice was clear. The Cologuard Plus test. It can be used at home and can only take 15 minutes, so I can do it during halftime and not miss any action. If you are 45 or older and at average risk, ask your healthcare provider about screening for colon cancer with the Cologuard test. You can also request a prescription at Cologuard.com.
Synthesized in real time changes what decisions you make. And better decisions compounded over months and years is what separates genuinely elite performers from everyone else. What's hype and what's real? My honest assessment. I want to spend some time being critical here because I think it serves you better than cheerleading. Not everything in the AI performance space is as transformative as the marketing suggests. There are real limitations, real risks, and real areas where the technology is still immature. If you go into this space without that perspective, you'll spend money on tools that don't move the needle. Or worse, you'll start making training decisions based on data that isn't reliable. The biggest problem I've encountered is data quality. AI is only as good as the inputs it receives. Most consumer wearables still have meaningful accuracy limitations, particularly in sleep staging and HRV measurement, depending on where the sensor is located on the body. If the inputs are noisy, the outputs will be too. I've had sessions where my wearable told me I had an outstanding recovery night and the data looked almost implausibly perfect. My subjective experience told a different story. Trusting the device over your own felt sense in those moments is a mistake. These tools should inform your decision making, not override it. I've also been skeptical of some of the injury prediction tools that are marketed to the general consumer market. The systems that genuinely work are typically built on enormous data sets of high-level athletic movement, thousands of athletes across years of monitoring. Many consumer-facing products don't have access to that kind of training data, and their predictive accuracy reflects that limitation. If a product is promising injury prediction but can't explain its model or its validation data set, I'd approach it with serious caution. The technology is real, but not every company selling it is operating at the level where the technology actually delivers on its promise. How I integrate AI into my own training day. I want to give you a concrete picture of what this actually looks like in practice because I think the abstract conversation about AI and athletics can feel distant from the reality of a training day. Here's my current morning protocol and how the AI layer fits into it. I wake up, ideally without an alarm, which itself is part of the system, and within about 2 minutes, I do a brief assessment. My ring has already captured my sleep data overnight. I open my readiness app, input my subjective score on a 10-point scale, note my perceived stress level, and flag any notable factors from the previous day: hard session, travel, alcohol, illness. The system synthesizes all of that and within about 30 seconds gives me a readiness score alongside a recommended training category for the day. Not a specific session, I still make that call based on my training block and goals, but a category. Today might be a high readiness day, so the recommendation is to prioritize quality work at or above threshold. Or it's a moderate day, so aerobic development or technical skill work is the call. Or it's a low readiness day, and the system is telling me clearly today is a maintenance or recovery day. Enforcing high intensity will produce more fatigue than adaptation. What I found is that honoring that guidance, even when it feels counterintuitive, even when I feel like I could push, has made my training dramatically more consistent over a full season. I have fewer days where I'm digging out of a hole. I have fewer forced rest days from accumulated fatigue. And my performance in key sessions has gone up because I'm arriving at those sessions actually prepared to express my fitness rather than just surviving through, accumulated tiredness. So the AI doesn't train for me, but it helps me train smarter than I ever have before. And that the ethics and the edge cases. There's a conversation happening in elite sport right now that doesn't get enough airtime in the mainstream fitness space, and I want to raise it here because I think it matters. As AI becomes more embedded in training and performance, we're starting to see serious questions emerge about data ownership, competitive equity, and the psychological consequences of being continuously monitored. These are not trivial concerns, and I don't want to gloss over them just because the technology is exciting. On data ownership, when you input your biometrics into a third-party platform, who owns that data? Who has access to it? Can it be sold? Can it be used to train the model and benefit other users without your explicit consent? Most people don't read the terms of service carefully enough to know the answers to those questions.
This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
Encourage you to understand what you're agreeing to before you hand over months of your most intimate physiological data to a company whose long-term interests may not align with yours. On the psychological side, there's a real risk of what I call metric dependency, where you begin to distrust your own subjective experience in favor of the number on your screen. I've seen this happen with athletes who refuse to train on days their score is below a certain threshold, even when everything about their felt sense tells them they're ready. And I've seen the opposite. People override genuinely concerning data because they've already mentally committed to a hard session. The technology should augment your self-awareness, not replace it. If you're losing touch with your own body in favor of the readout, the tool is working against you. The future of AI-enhanced performance, where this is all going. Let me take a few minutes to look ahead because I think the next 3 to 5 years in this space are going to be genuinely extraordinary. And I want you to have a framework for evaluating what's coming rather than just reacting to it. The current generation of AI performance tools is impressive, but it's also still relatively primitive compared to what the technology will be capable of within a decade. So we are very much in the early innings here. The next major frontier, in my view, is a multimodal integration. Systems that combine all of the data streams I've described into a single unified performance intelligence layer that is continuous and contextual. Right now, most of these systems operate in silos. Your sleep tracker doesn't talk to your training load monitor, which doesn't talk to your nutrition login system, which doesn't talk to your psychological stress assessments. The future is a single system that synthesizes all of those inputs simultaneously and creates a truly holistic picture of your performance state in real time. I also think we're going to see AI play a much larger role in the actual content of training, not just the volume and intensity, but the specific exercises, the movement patterns, the sequencing, the coaching cues. Computer vision combined with machine learning is already capable of analyzing movement quality with accuracy that rivals expert human observation. The day is coming, and it's not far off, when your training session will be analyzed in real time by a system that identifies your compensatory patterns, adjusts your cues mid-set, and flags technical breakdown before it becomes a habit or an injury. That is not science fiction. That is the next generation of AI-enhanced coaching, and it is being built right now. What you should actually do with this information. I want to close the content portion of this episode with something practical, because I know that after a conversation this dense, you might be wondering where to start. The honest answer is start small, start with data quality, and give any system at least 60 days before you evaluate its value. The biggest mistake people make with these tools is expecting them to deliver insight in week one when the machine learning model is still in the process of learning your individual patterns. Be patient. The value compounds over time. If you're new to this space and you want a practical starting point, I'd recommend beginning with a high-quality continuous HRV monitor worn overnight, not during training, overnight, and pair it with a consistent daily readiness practice that includes both objective data and a subjective self-assessment. Build that habit for 60 days before adding any additional tools or platforms. What you'll develop is a baseline understanding of your own patterns that will make every subsequent tool more useful and more interpretable. For those of you who are already using wearables and readiness platforms, the next step is integration and interpretation. Don't just look at the daily score. Look at the trend over 2 to 4 weeks. That's where the real signal lives. Single data points are noise. Patterns are information. And finally, never stop listening to your own body. These tools are extraordinarily useful, but your subjective experience is still the most important data point in the room. The best AI in the world is a complement to your intuition, not a replacement for it. The AI-enhanced athlete. That's a wrap on episode 1 of the Peak Performance Podcast. If you made it this far, thank you. Genuinely. This is the kind of deep, detailed conversation that doesn't fit into a 3-minute highlight reel. And the fact that you're here tells me something about the level of commitment you bring to your own performance. That matters, and I don't take it lightly. The AI-enhanced athlete is not a future concept. It's a present reality. The tools are here, they are improving rapidly, and the gap between those who use them intelligently and those who don't is going to widen significantly over the next few years. My goal with this episode was to give you the map, not to sell you on any specific technology, but to help you think clearly about what the technology can and cannot do, so that when you engage with it, you do so from a position of informed discernment rather than hype-driven enthusiasm. In the next episode, we're going to pivot from the external tools of performance to something internal and foundational. He said, your metabolism. Specifically, how the modern world, the food systems we live inside, the environmental stressors we're constantly navigating, and the technology we interact with daily is reshaping metabolic function in ways most people have never considered. And more importantly, what the highest performing people I know are doing to stay metabolically flexible in a world that seems almost designed to work against it. I'll see you in episode 2. Keep doing the work.